Okay, the offseason article for the New Orleans Pelicans is now up on ESPN.com. New Orleans has been eliminated by Phoenix in a terrific six-game series. I think we learned certainly a lot about Phoenix as far as their toughness, but we certainly learned a lot about this New Orleans team that had to scratch and claw just to get into the play-in, win two games, the great win in LA. And basically had this Phoenix team on the ropes. Let's face it. I mean, the game could have gone New Orleans' way, and we could be talking about a game 7 that's going back to Phoenix. And instead of doing a video, I would be writing a Phoenix Suns offseason article right now, but we're not doing that. I'll tell you what, and we put out the offseason articles after when teams lose. That's kind of the customary tradition, but I kind of felt like I didn't feel right doing that. That in Toronto too, like when teams compete their ass off, and I know the Toronto's game got a little bit out of hand, but when teams compete their rear ends off like Phoenix, like New Orleans did this whole series, it's almost like we need a day grace period, but that's not how the offseason articles work. State of the roster is strong. You got 14 players under contract. We haven't seen Zion all year. You're going to have a top 10 pick. That's the Lakers. The chance of getting the number 1 pick is a 6% chance, and we've seen crazier things happen the night of the lottery, which is in about 2 weeks here. So you've got Zion and a top 10 pick that's waiting in the wings that weren't on the court all year. And you'll get a full year of CJ McCollum. You'll get a full year of Larry Nance Jr. You'll have your younger players develop. You'll get another year of development from Brandon Ingram, who is a all-star, all-NBA type player. He's a heck of a player. So the roster is strong, and give David Griffin a lot of credit. I mean, Griff was taking a lot of bows and arrows, man. My only critique with Griff was not about the roster. I questioned as far as how you handled Zion back in September, just kind of being more upfront. And I understand there are certainly circumstances on maybe why. A little critique about the CJ McCollum trade, just based on I was uncomfortable that he didn't get a physical at the time, and I'm sure there were circumstances why, but other than that, man, talk about knocking it out of the park this year. You nailed the draft, right? Trey Murphy, who I had the pleasure of helping prepare for the draft last year with his interview, great kid. Goes to Rice, transfers to Virginia. I was in the gym watching him shoot. I think he hit 48 out of 53s. Terrific young man. He's got a great head on his shoulders. Herb Jones, probably going to be on one of the 2 All-NBA defense teams. I think it's the first time since I think the first time since Tim Duncan. Jose Alvarado, who you had on a 2-way, who basically gives this roster so much life and so much personality. You got these guys under contract for the next 3 years after this year. I mean, that's the beauty of it. That's when you have, when you can nail the draft and you can sign those undrafted players and you get them under contract, and makes life so much easier that you're not going out in the free agent game with the veteran minimum exception, and you're just chasing guys here. You've got 14 players under contract. That includes, I believe, your lottery pick. Let me just double check this here. I apologize for doodling while we're doing this video here. You got 15 with your lottery pick here. So that's, and you've got a lot of tradable assets, whether it be Devontae Graham or Valanciunas, certainly not probably. I mean, but you've got all these guys, 14-7, 13-3, 11-5, 9-6, 6-8, like Garrett Temple, 5-1. So you've got all these, you've got a lot of tradable assets to go out and do deals. But of course, it all comes down to Zion, right? So the article there's a lot of talk as far as what New Orleans should do about Zion. Should they write him a blank check for 180 million dollars plus? Should they put some type of injury language protection in there? For me, I would certainly protect myself like Philadelphia did with Joel Embiid back in 2017. Probably one of the most complex contracts I've ever went through. When I got it, I was like, whoa, this is going to take, for someone who didn't go to law school, I was like, this is going to take a little bit while here. And Philadelphia basically gave, I think, Embiid 90 of the 140 plus million guaranteed, and had conditions on there based on, on his back and his feet, based on games played and if he suffered an injury. And I think certainly that's something that New Orleans should talk with Williamson's agents from CAA and see if there's a deal to be made here, instead of just writing him a blank check. And I think if you're Zion's camp, you're going to probably point to Michael Porter Jr., who got a max contract. The fifth year is partial, and there's some contingencies in there for All-NBA and postseason success here. But that there was no language in there for his back. But if you're New Orleans, then you're going to say, well, look what happened to Michael Porter Jr. He basically missed the whole year. And is there something there that we can protect? So there's a lot about Zion as far as what to look for as far as with his extension. It's not that cut and dry. It's not Ja Morant where you're just going to go out and give him $182 million here, right? Like that, I would have some sleepless nights as far as giving him basically a blank check, especially that he's missed the whole year. And I know the people in New Orleans, their trainers, they know it's under the hood more than what I do and what the general population of people who will critique every move here. So that's the big thing, figuring out what happens with Zion. You can go through it. There's a lot of different options here as far as what New Orleans can do, but you're restricted. You've got, as I said, 15 players under contract. Your only free agent is Tony Snell, and you've got your two-way guys. You'll have your tax mid-level exception. You're right up against the luxury tax. You got about $147 million in the salary. You're $2 million below it. You've got your pressed. I don't see them using the tax mid-level here. You've got draft picks. You've got you still have more Laker picks coming. You got a Milwaukee pick. You have your own pick went to Charlotte as far as the Devontae Graham trade. The 2025 first is protected top 4. Goes to Portland 5-30. But man, you got a lot of stuff coming. You got unprotected ones from the Lakers, not including this year. Milwaukee swap rights with the Lakers next year. Milwaukee first. Trade exceptions. There's a lot in the kitty here, man. Like a lot. And then the big thing too is what do you do with your extension option, your extension guys? Jackson Hayes, Larry Nance Jr., CJ McCollum. CJ is interesting just because the date on his they can extend him now, but they're limited as far as what they can add on there. They can only add another year on in the offseason until August 9th, where they can add on an additional 3 additional years to his contract here. So that will be interesting. August 9th for CJ. Jackson Hayes is extension eligible. Hard for me to, he's got value here, but he's a little bit of a wild card for me. So what's his numbers? As I always say, Robert Williams is kind of the and Wendell Carter, $10 to $12 million for centers. That's kind of the going rate here. But keep an eye on the lottery. Keep an eye on the lottery. Right now, our guys at Mike Schmitz and Jonathan Gavoni were the best. They have A.J. Griffin from Duke with the 8th pick. Man, add another wing. Good luck to you. The hard part, though, is, and we're going to end this video in a minute, is that although this team is going to get better, so is the Western Conference. The Western Conference is going to be a bear. You've got likely Murray and Porter in Denver coming back. You've got Kawhi in LA. So to get in that top 6, who's going to come? Who's coming out of the top 6? Maybe Utah, right? You kind of go down there. Phoenix, I don't see it. Golden State, I don't see it. Memphis, I don't see it. Dallas, I don't see it. Denver will stay there. So you're basically hoping that Utah is your team that falls out. But all in all, a terrific season in New Orleans based on where they were. And before I end this, I I say this every year, is that sometimes your most important hire is not a free agent or someone you hire you sign as a draft pick or you draft, and you sign in free agency, is who you hire as your head coach. You said it in Boston with Ime Udoka. Jason Kidd in Dallas has done a tremendous job. But going out and get Willie Green has been a coup. I mean, talk about a man who has some substance. High character guy. So if you're listening, Sacramento, it can be done. You can go out and get the right coach and have some sustainability here and have a player that, I mean, when was the last time you saw a coach cry on the court after losing a series like they did here? Tremendous. So good things are coming in New Orleans, but it all starts with the draft.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.